Good evening. I'm Grim. Isn't it curious how the stories we tell our children are often the darkest ones? We sing them without thinking. A farmer and his wife, a girl in a red hood, a ring around the roses, Jack and Jill. Simple little verses, harmless little rhymes. Or so we're told. But I've always wondered, who decided to stop telling the rest of the story? Perhaps it became too uncomfortable. Perhaps parents preferred sleepy children over frightened ones. Or perhaps the ending was never meant to be remembered. Tonight, we'll climb a lonely hill where two lifelong friends set out to fetch nothing more than a bucket of water. One of them carries an empty pail. The other carries something much heavier. Sometimes evil doesn't announce itself with horns and fire. Sometimes it wears the face of your best friend. It laughs with your laughter. It borrows your voice. And when it finally whispers your name, you answer. So if someone asks you to take a walk up an old hill to a forgotten well, you may want to ask yourself one simple question. Who invited us there? And who plans on coming back? This is Jack and Jill.
Zack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water, but only Jill came down again, and no one asked what happened after. They were best friends since kindergarten, Zack and Jill, always together. She was quirky, he was curious. They made up silly games and raced each other up that old lonesome hill behind their neighborhood. But lately Jill had gotten weird. She talked to herself more than usual, laughed at things no one said, and once Zack swore he heard her muttering in a voice that didn't sound like hers at all. She said the voice had a name. Hella. Zack thought it was a joke until that last afternoon. The path to the top was familiar, worn smooth by years of play. The sky was cloudy, and the air hung heavy, like something was waiting. Jill skipped ahead, swinging the iron pail in one hand and a long, strange-looking wrench in the other. "Why do you have that?" Zack asked. "To make the water taste better," she said, not looking back. The well sat like a mouth at the hill's peak, wide, black, and still. Zack leaned over to drop the bucket. That's when he felt it. A chill. A breath. Something wrong. Jill stood behind him, too close. She was whispering, but not in her voice. "Let the flame dwindle and the darkness consume," the whisper hissed. Zack turned, but too slowly. Crack! The wrench hit his skull with a sickening thunk. He collapsed to the ground, twitching, groaning. Jill dropped the wrench. Her hands shook. What did I do?" A laugh echoed from somewhere deep inside her. It wasn't hers. Hella was in charge now. She dragged Zack's twitching body to the edge of the well. He was not dead yet. Not yet. But he would be. It took all her strength, but finally, she tipped him in. There was a long silence, and then a splash. Gone. She could hear the splashing sounds. awkward splashing, as if one arm was still trying to work. "Hurry up," Hella grunted. "Hurry up and sink, will you?" When she came back down, her hands were clean, her face blank. Her lips moved quietly, repeating the nursery rhyme like a charm. But it still was not right. "Zach," she told the neighbors. "Haven't seen him in a while." No one suspected her. Not sweet, wide-eyed Jill. She still brought water home from the hill every day. But it started tasting funny. Like iron. Like something old and forgotten. It steamed weird when they boiled it, and it smelled wrong. Jill didn't like the taste, but Hella did. And every so often Jill would stare down into the well, smile, and hum softly. And on a cloud-free summer's day, while staring into the blackness of the well, a voice rang out. "What are you looking at?" A startled Jill glanced up to see a young boy her age staring at her from the other side of the well. "Who are you?" she demanded. "The name's Jack." A smirk came across Jill's face. "Help me fetch some water, Jack." And once the two pulled the old iron bucket from the watery grave, Jill paused and bluntly demanded, "Take a sip of the water, Jack." So Jack sipped from the bucket. "And do you like the taste?" "I do," Jack responded with a sinister smile. Jill looked away and began humming a tune to herself. Then she grasped Jack's hand tightly and began down the hill. "Jack and Jill went up the hill," she muttered softly. "Now that sounds much better."